In the vast, crystalline judgment chamber of the Galactic Council, Ambassador Marcus Reynolds stands alone at the center of a massive amphitheater. 300 alien representatives from across the Milky Way look down upon him from ascending rings of seats, their whispers echoing throughout the chamber. Marcus remains perfectly still, his weathered face betraying no emotion. Despite being the sole representative of humanity facing the combined might of galactic civilization, the Council has deliberated, announces Supreme Arbiter Valoros, a 12-foot-tall being with iridescent skin that shifts colors with each word spoken. For the 7th time in as many cycles, Earth's petition for non-intervention status is denied. A ripple of murmurs crosses the chamber. The Kali delegation chitfers in approval, their insectoid mandibles clicking rhythmically. The Norvo representatives glow brighter, their bioluminescent bodies pulsing with satisfaction. Furthermore, Valoros continues, the Council has determined that Earth's continued resistance to resource extraction quotas constitutes an unacceptable deviation from established interstellar protocols. Compliance is mandatory. The extraction fleet will proceed as scheduled. Marcus removes a small metallic device from his pocket. The Council guards immediately raise their weapons, but he simply places it on the floor before him. A holographic projection appears. Earth's President Amara Okafor, flanked by the United Earth Defense Council. Honored representatives of the Galactic Council, President Okafor begins, her voice steady and clear. For 50 years, humanity has sought peaceful coexistence. We've complied with technology restrictions. We've allowed limited resource sharing. We've participated in cultural exchanges, yet our sovereignty has been repeatedly violated. Our colonies raided, our ships detained. The chamber erupts in objections, but Valoros raises a hand for silence. As of this moment, President Okafor continues, Earth formally withdraws from all treaties with the Galactic Council. We hereby declare that any vessel entering Sol space without explicit permission will be considered hostile and destroyed. Any further attempts to extract Earth resources will be met with immediate military response. Laughter echoes through the chamber. A reptilian delegate stands. With what? Your primitive technology? Your limited fleet? Marcus smiles for the first time. For decades you've underestimated us. You've seen what we wanted you to see. He activates a second projection, a massive orbital shipyard hidden in Neptune's shadow, constructing vessels unlike anything in the Council records. Humanity tried peace, Marcus says, his voice cutting through the stunned silence. Now we're doing what humans do best when backed into a corner. 5 years earlier, Commander Liana Donovan stood at the viewport of Titan Base, watching Saturn's rings slice across the starfield. The secret installation, buried deep within the moon's methane ice, had been operating for nearly a decade without detection by the Galactic Council's monitoring satellites. System test complete. Commander, reported Lieutenant Pavel Sokolov from his station, the Phantom Drive is performing beyond expectations. Energy signature is practically non-existent. Liana nodded, her eyes fixed on the prototype vessel hovering silently above Titan's orange atmosphere. To any conventional sensors, the ship simply wasn't there. The technology had been painstakingly reverse-engineered from a damaged Council scout ship that crashed in the Antarctic 7 years ago. But human engineers had taken the concept further, creating something entirely new. Begin weapons test sequence, she ordered. The prototype vessel released 6 drones, each barely larger than a human hand. Within seconds, the drones formed a perfect hexagon formation and generated a focused energy field that could slice through the strongest known Council armor. Cut power, Liana commanded. Full report in 1 hour. As the technicians scrambled to compile data, Liana retreated to her private office where a secure communication link awaited her. The holographic form of Admiral James Turner appeared, his expression grave. The Council is getting suspicious, he said without preamble. Their representatives are demanding access to Jupiter's moons for routine inspection. We can't stall them much longer. We need another 6 months, Liana replied. The fleet is only at 60% capacity, and the defensive grid isn't fully operational. Marcus is doing everything he can in the diplomatic arena, but they're pushing harder than ever. The Kali especially, they've been conducting unauthorized scans of our outposts on Mars. Liana's jaw tightened. If they discover what we're building, then we'll have to accelerate the timetable, Admiral Turner finished. Humanity has played nice for 50 years, Commander. We've hidden our true potential, pretended to be less advanced than we are, but if they force our hand, we need to be ready to show them exactly what they've been underestimating. The transmission ended, leaving Liana alone with her thoughts. Outside her window, Titan's hazy atmosphere concealed not just one prototype, but an entire fleet of vessels equipped with technology that would shock the Galactic Council. Humanity had learned quickly after first contact that showing weakness in the galactic community was a death sentence. Species that couldn't defend themselves became resource farms for the more powerful civilizations. Earth had played a dangerous game of appearing compliant, while secretly preparing for the inevitable confrontation. Now that confrontation was approaching faster than anyone had anticipated. 3 days later, Diplomatic Officer Marcus Reynolds sat across from Taral, a representative of the Athar, one of the few genuinely peaceful species in the Council. They met in a quiet corner of the diplomatic quarter on the Council's capital station. Unlike most Council species, the Athar had always treated humans with respect rather than condescension. "The Kali are pushing for full colonization rights to your system," Toral said, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of distress in her species. "They've convinced many of the resource-hungry factions that Earth is hoarding valuable materials." Marcus kept his expression neutral. "Earth has complied with all agreed-upon resource-sharing treaties. That's not enough for them anymore. They claim your system contains rare elements essential for new propulsion technology. The vote is scheduled for next week, and it doesn't look favorable for Earth. What about the non-intervention status we petitioned for?" Toral's skin darkened, the equivalent of a sad smile. "Denied before it even reached General Assembly. The Council considers Earth too strategically valuable." Marcus nodded slowly, processing this information. "Thank you for the warning, Toral. Your friendship to humanity won't be forgotten." As he left the meeting, Marcus received an urgent transmission from Earth. A Council mining fleet had landed on Callisto, one of Jupiter's moons, without authorization. When the human settlers protested, the Council forces opened fire. 273 dead. The Council was calling it an unfortunate misunderstanding. Marcus closed his eyes briefly, a rare moment of visible emotion. The timetable had just collapsed. He sent a single coded message back to Earth. Sword unsheathed. Within 24 hours, he would stand before the full Council and deliver humanity's response. Not as the humble representative of a minor species, but as the voice of a civilization that had finally reached its breaking point. The Council believed they were dealing with a defenseless world that could be bullied into submission. They were about to discover just how wrong they were. As dawn broke over Earth's capital, President Okafor received Marcus's message. She immediately convened the Defense Council. The room was silent as she laid out their options. "We always knew this day might come," she said finally. "The question is, are we ready?" Admiral Turner's hologram appeared in the center of the table. "The fleet stands at 70% capacity. Not what we hoped for, but enough to make our point." Commander Donovan joined from Titan. "The Phantom Drive is fully operational. We can deploy within hours." President Okafor looked at each face around the table, representatives of a unified Earth that had worked in secret for decades toward this moment. "For 50 years we've tried peace," she said. "We've extended the hand of friendship only to be treated as inferiors, as resources to be harvested. We've hidden our true capabilities, hoping the Council would eventually recognize our right to self-determination." She stood, her decision made. "That hope is now exhausted. Prepare the fleet. Activate the orbital defense grid. As of this moment, Earth stands alone, but we stand ready. The Galactic Council wants to see humanity's true face? Then let's show them what happens when you corner a species that survived its own violent history to reach the stars." The orders went out. Across the solar system, hidden installations powered up. Ships emerged from concealed docks. Defense platforms activated. Earth was done hiding. And in the Council chamber, Marcus Reynolds prepared to deliver humanity's final warning. The Galactic Council's high chamber fell into stunned silence as the holographic projection flickered above Ambassador Marcus Reynolds' device. The massive shipyards hidden in Neptune's shadow revealed vessels with configurations no Council species had ever seen before. Even the most dismissive representatives leaned forward in their seats, mandibles clicking and tentacles writhing in agitation. "This is a deception," hissed Vrax, the Kali war leader. "These images are fabricated to make your pitiful species appear stronger than you are." Marcus simply smiled. "The Council has always underestimated humanity. You saw what we wanted you to see, a compliant, technologically inferior species grateful for your guidance." His voice hardened. "You mistook patience for weakness." Supreme Arbiter Valoros's skin shifted to a deep purple, a sign of both anger and concern. "These threats are meaningless. The Council's combined fleets outnumber your vessels thousands to one." "Numbers aren't everything, Arbiter," Marcus replied calmly. "You might want to check your long-range sensors, particularly around your mining operations in the Hesperos system." A junior aide rushed to Valoros, whispering urgently in his ear. The Arbiter's color drained to a pale blue. "Impossible," he whispered. Marcus turned to leave the chamber. "Humanity tried peace, Arbiter. Remember that in the days to come." As he reached the doors, the chamber erupted into chaos behind him. Through his earpiece, he heard the confirmation. "Operation First Strike is complete. All targets neutralized without casualties." Humanity had fired the first shot, and not a single drop of blood had been spilled. Yet, 3 days after Earth's declaration, the Council dismissed the threat and dispatched a disciplinary force to establish a blockade around Jupiter's moons. The fleet, consisting of 30 Council warships led by the feared Kali dreadnought Eternal Victory, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Jupiter's gravity well. Their mission: secure the valuable mining operations and teach the upstart humans a lesson in humility. Admiral Jackson. Way watched from the bridge of the EDF Prometheus as the Council ships arranged themselves in standard assault formation. "They're right on schedule," he noted, his voice betraying no emotion, "and exactly where we want them." The bridge of the Prometheus was unlike anything the Council races would recognize. No captain's chair, no control stations, just 6 human officers lying in neural interface cradles, their minds directly connected to the ship's systems. Admiral Way stood in the center, the only one not connected, there to make the final decisions that required a human element separate from the ship's systems. "Phantom drive signatures from the Council vessels?" he asked. "None detected, sir," responded Lieutenant Kira Nomura, her eyes closed as she processed sensor data directly through her neural link. "They're still using standard Alcubierre drives with quantum positioning. No evidence they've reverse-engineered our technology." Wayne nodded. "Status of our fleet? All vessels in position, powered down and undetectable behind Ganymede and Callisto. The Europa defense grid is armed but passive. Council sensors are registering only the mining colony signatures, as expected." Way touched the communication node at his temple. "All vessels, this is Admiral Way. Execute Operation Checkmate. Rules of engagement remain in effect. Disable, do not destroy unless absolutely necessary." Across Jupiter's complex moon system, 15 Earth ships activated their phantom drives. To the Council fleet, it appeared as though vessels simply materialized around them, emerging from empty space without warning. Before the Council ships could respond, precisely targeted electromagnetic pulses disabled their primary systems. Simultaneously, microscopic drones, thousands of them, swarmed across their hulls, attaching to weapons systems and propulsion units. On the bridge of the Eternal Victory, War Leader Vrax roared in fury as his systems went dark. "Impossible! These primitives couldn't possibly—" His words cut off as the ship's emergency systems engaged and a human voice came through on all frequencies. "Attention, Council vessels. This is Admiral Jackson Way of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your ships have been disabled but not destroyed. Your life support systems remain operational. Consider this a demonstration of restraint, not weakness. You will be allowed to restore minimal power in 12 hours. Enough to return to Council space. The Jupiter system is now closed to all Council traffic. This is your only warning." The entire engagement had lasted less than 3 minutes. Not a single shot had been fired, not a single life lost. Yet the Council fleet, including their most advanced dreadnought, floated helpless in space, neutralized by technology they hadn't known existed. Back on Earth, Division Director Elise Morita stood in the Global Defense Command Center, monitoring feeds from satellites, orbital platforms, and deep space sensors. The wall-sized display showed 27 incoming Council vessels attempting to penetrate Earth's airspace, automated probe ships scanning for weaknesses. "They're testing our defenses," she observed to her team. Conventional approach, standard council tactics. They still think we're primitive. Her second-in-command, Major Thomas Rivera, nodded. Should we use the kinetic interceptors? No, Elise decided. Let's show them something they haven't seen before. She authorized the activation of Earth's atmospheric defense grid. Hundreds of orbiting satellites disguised for decades as weather and communication platforms revealed their true purpose. Each generated a localized gravitational distortion, field art technology the Council believed was centuries beyond human capability. The incoming Council probes suddenly found themselves caught in conflicting gravitational fields, their trajectories warped and distorted. Unable to maintain course, they were gently but firmly redirected back into deep space. In the Council's Intelligence Center, analysts watched in disbelief. How did they manipulate spatial geometry at that scale? Demanded Chief Analyst Morvan of the Talari Science Directive. Their technological advancement was estimated at level 3. These defenses are at least level 7. His subordinate, trembling slightly, offered the only possible explanation. They've been hiding their true capabilities, Director. For decades, on the Council's capital world of Nexus Prime, an emergency session had been convened. Representatives from 50 major species gathered to assess the sudden threat posed by what they had always considered a minor race from an unremarkable planet. Supreme Arbiter Valeros addressed the assembly, his skin now a muted gray, the color of strategic calculation. The humans have revealed military technology far beyond our previous assessments. Their action against our fleet at Jupiter demonstrates capabilities we believed were theoretical at best. The question before this council is simple. How do we respond? War leader Vrax, recently returned and humiliated from the Jupiter debacle, leaped to his feet. The answer is obvious. We must crush these humans immediately with overwhelming force before they grow stronger. Their deception cannot go unpunished. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, particularly from resource-dependent species who had benefited most from Earth's exploitation. Toril of the Athar rose to speak. Perhaps we should consider diplomacy. The humans demonstrated remarkable restraint. They could have destroyed our fleet but chose not to take a single life. Weakness, Vrax spat. They lack the courage to do what is necessary. Or perhaps, Toril countered, they possess a wisdom we should heed. The debate raged for hours, but in the end, the war faction prevailed. By a narrow margin, 176 votes to 154, the Council authorized a full-scale military response. A combined armada would be assembled with the explicit goal of forcing Earth's unconditional surrender. As the session ended, Toril approached Valeros privately. This is a mistake, Arbiter. You don't understand what you're dealing with. Valeros regarded her with 4 of his 6 eyes. And you do? I've studied human history. Unlike us, they evolved on a predator world. Their entire history is one of conflict and survival against overwhelming odds. For most species, war is a last resort. For humans, she paused, it's where they excel. Then we will make an example of them, Valeros said dismissively. Their technology may be impressive, but they are one world against thousands. That's what worries me, Toril replied softly. Throughout their history, humans have been most dangerous when outnumbered and cornered. As she left, Valeros received an urgent communication. Earth vessels had been detected in 6 different council systems, appearing and disappearing seemingly at will. They weren't attacking, just observing, gathering intelligence. The implication was clear. Earth knew exactly where to strike if hostilities escalated. For the first time in his 300-year life, Supreme Arbiter Valeros felt something unfamiliar. Doubt, meanwhile. On the secret Earth installation beneath the Mariana Trench, Marcus Reynolds met with President Okafor and the Defense Council. The Council has voted for war, Marcus reported. They're assembling an armada, at least 2,000 vessels. They'll target our colonies first, then Earth itself. President Okafor nodded, unsurprised. And the diplomatic option? Failed as we expected. They won't accept a relationship of equals. Admiral Wei's hologram flickered. Our intelligence ships have completed their survey. We've identified 27 critical vulnerabilities in their defense networks. If necessary, we can strike at their core worlds. Commander Donovan added, the full fleet will be operational within 7. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with tension as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. On the massive central display, red warning symbols marked systems where human ships had been detected. appearing and vanishing before they could be engaged. Supreme Arbiter Valoros watched with growing concern as the number of reports increased hourly. "They're everywhere," whispered Trade Minister Jex of the Volnari Confederation. "How can they move so quickly between systems?" Valoros had no answer. The humans were using some form of propulsion technology that defied Council understanding. Ships appearing without energy signatures, bypassing standard detection grids and vanishing before countermeasures could be deployed. War Leader Vrax stormed into the chamber, his chitinous armor clattering with each step. "The humans mock us with these games. They dart through our territories without engaging, testing our defenses but never attacking. This is psychological warfare designed to make us appear weak." "Perhaps," countered Toril of the Athar, "they are simply gathering intelligence before responding to our declaration of war. We fired the first shot in this conflict, after all." "Enough." Vrax slammed his clawed appendage on the council table. "I have convinced the War Council to authorize immediate action. The Kali battle fleet will depart for the human colony on Mars within the hour. We will show these primitives the cost of defiance." Toril rose in alarm. "You can't be serious. That's a civilian settlement with millions of inhabitants." "It is a military target," Vrax hissed. "Our intelligence indicates weapon development facilities beneath the surface, and the humans must learn that consequences have actions." "You mean actions have consequences," Toril corrected. "I know what I said." Vrax replied coldly. "After today, the humans will understand the natural order of this galaxy." Before anyone could object further, Vrax departed, leaving the council in stunned silence. Toril approached Valoros urgently. "Arbiter, you must stop this. The Kali are using banned weapons, antimatter cascades. Using them against a populated world is a war crime under our own laws." Valoros's skin shifted to a dark blue, the color of resignation. "The vote has been cast, Representative Toril. The Kali have full authorization for this mission." He lowered his voice. "And perhaps a demonstration of our power will bring the humans back to the negotiating table, on our terms." Toril looked at him with all four eyes wide in disbelief. "You still don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? If the Kali attack Mars, the humans won't surrender. They'll retaliate in ways you cannot imagine." But her words fell on deaf ears. The decision had been made. 12 hours later, the Kali battle fleet, 50 warships led by the dreadnought Inevitable Conquest, dropped out of FTL near Mars. Without warning or ultimatum, they fired their primary weapons. Banned by the Council for centuries, antimatter cascade devices created chain reactions that literally unraveled matter at the atomic level. The dome cities of Mars, home to 16 million human colonists, vanished in blinding flashes of light. Within minutes, every human settlement on the red planet had been reduced to subatomic particles. The attack was brutal, efficient, and absolute. On the bridge of the Inevitable Conquest, War Leader Vrax watched with satisfaction. "Send word to the Council. Mars has been pacified. Now we move to their lunar colonies." His communications officer turned with confusion. "War Leader, we're receiving a transmission. From Mars, impossible. Nothing could have survived." The main display activated, showing a human woman in a military uniform. Behind her stood a pristine command center with dozens of officers at their stations. "This is Fleet Commander Teresa Reyes of the Mars Defense Force. Your attack just killed 16 million civilians in our surface cities." Her voice was calm, controlled, but filled with cold fury. "We were prepared for this possibility. Our military installations are untouched. Our fleet is intact. And now, War Leader Vrax, you will learn why throughout human history, the greatest military mistake has always been the same: awakening a sleeping giant." The transmission cut off. Vrax laughed nervously. "Empty threats. Scan the planet. Find these hidden installations." Before his crew could comply, proximity alarms blared. Hundreds of objects rose from the Martian surface, not from the locations of the destroyed cities, but from the vast deserts and canyons. Missile silos hidden beneath the red sands launched their payloads toward the Kali fleet. "Evasive action," Vrax ordered, but it was too late. The missiles didn't explode. Instead, they released clouds of microscopic robots that swarmed over the Kali ships, infiltrating every system through cooling vents and external sensors. Within seconds, the mighty fleet was immobilized. Their weapons offline, their engines dead. Only the communication systems remained functional. deliberately left operational by the human attackers. On Earth, in the Global Defense Command Center, President Okafor received the news of the Mars attack. 16 million civilians dead in an instant. The room fell silent as the death toll appeared on the screens. When she spoke, her voice was steel. Activate the Artemis Protocol. All ships, all weapons, full deployment. She turned to her military commanders. The Council has chosen genocide. We will respond in kind, but only against those responsible. Fleet Commander Darius Okoro, leader of Earth's newly unveiled Vengeance-class battleships, received his orders with grim determination. Confirmed, Madam President. The Kali homeworld of Kaltorax will be our primary target. Secondary targets are their military installations in the Procyon and Sirius systems. Commander, President Okafor added, you are authorized to use the gravity lance. A ripple of shock passed through the command center. The gravity lance was humanity's most closely guarded secret weapon, a device that could manipulate gravitational fields with such precision it could tear a planet apart from the inside. It had never been deployed, not even in tests. Understood, Madam President, Commander Okoro replied. But I recommend we demonstrate our power without destroying their homeworld. The Kali are only one species in the Council. Our quarrel is not with all of them. President Okafor nodded slowly. You're right. Show them our strength, but leave their civilization intact. Make them understand that we could have done much worse, just as they could have warned Mars before the attack. 12 hours later, humanity's response began. The Vengeance fleet, 10 massive battleships accompanied by 40 smaller vessels, appeared in the Kali home system without warning. Their phantom drives allowed them to bypass the elaborate defense network that had protected Kaltorax for centuries. Commander Okoro stood on the bridge of the EDF Retribution, his expression solemn as he gave the order. Target their orbital defenses only. Precision strikes, minimal casualties. The gravity lance activated not to destroy but to control. Gravitational fields around Kaltorax distorted precisely, causing the orbital defense platforms to collapse in on themselves. The massive space docks where the Kali built their warships were crushed by invisible forces, the metal twisting and compacting into useless lumps. On the planet below, the Kali watched in horror as their supposedly invincible defenses, the product of 1,000 years of military development, were neutralized in minutes. No planet-based weapons were targeted. No civilian centers were harmed. The humans had responded with surgical precision, demonstrating both their technological superiority and their restraint. A transmission from Commander Okoro played on every Kali communication device. People of Kaltorax, your leaders attacked Mars without warning, killing 16 million civilians. We have disabled your orbital defenses and shipyards, but deliberately spared your cities and military bases on the surface. Remember this moment. Humanity could have done to you what you did to Mars. We chose not to. We are not your enemy unless you make us so. The message repeated in all major Kali dialects, ensuring every citizen understood. The humans had shown mercy where the Kali had shown none. On Earth, the population united in grief and determination. Memorial services for the Mars colonies were held worldwide. President Okafor addressed the planet from the steps of the United Earth Government headquarters. Today we mourn our brothers and sisters of Mars, victims of an unprovoked attack by the Kali forces. But even in our grief we have responded with proportionality and restraint. We have demonstrated our military capability without descending to the level of our attackers. She paused, looking directly into the cameras. To the citizens of Earth and our remaining colonies, I reveal now what has been our contingency plan for decades. Beyond Council space, in regions unexplored by galactic powers, humanity has established secret colonies. Millions of our people live and work beyond the Council's reach, our insurance against extinction. The revelation sent shockwaves through the population, but also brought hope. Humanity's survival was not tied to Earth alone. Meanwhile, Ambassador Marcus Reynolds worked tirelessly with his Athar ally Toral. Together, they contacted representatives of other species who had suffered under Council rule. The Belosians, whose homeworld had been stripped of resources. The Nyx Collective, whose technological development had been deliberately stunted. The Tellurians, whose territorial rights had been repeatedly violated. The Council claims to represent all advanced species, Marcus told them. But in reality, It serves the interests of its founding members. Earth is not. The central archives of the Galactic Council stretched beneath the surface of Nexus Prime, a labyrinth of data storage vaults containing the accumulated knowledge of 1,000 civilizations across 20 million years. Access was restricted to the highest levels of Council authority, its contents deemed too valuable or too dangerous for common knowledge. Dr. Nadia Volkov moved through the dimly lit corridors with practiced confidence, her Council researcher credentials prominently displayed. Behind her walked 2 junior analysts, their nervous energy palpable. To any observer, they appeared to be conducting routine data verification, a common enough sight in the archives. No one would suspect that Dr. Volkov was Earth's most accomplished cryptographer, or that her assistants were elite operatives from Earth's Special Intelligence Division. "Remember," she whispered as they approached the xenobiology sector, "we have exactly 43 minutes before the security protocols reset. Touch nothing unless I authorize it." For 3 weeks, Dr. Volkov had been decoding intercepted Council communications, messages encrypted with algorithms supposedly unbreakable. What she had discovered in those communications had brought her here, to the heart of Council knowledge, seeking confirmation of something too incredible to believe without proof. They reached Terminal 7 Alpha, isolated from the main system network, a security measure for particularly sensitive data. Dr. Volkov connected a small device to the access port, bypassing the authentication protocols with a zero-day exploit discovered by Earth's best hackers. "I'm in," she breathed, fingers flying across the holographic interface. "Beginning search parameters." The terminal hummed as it processed her query. Results began populating the display: ancient records, genetic analyses, historical surveys. Dr. Volkov's eyes widened as she scanned the information. "Download everything," she ordered. "Every file, every reference." One of her companions glanced nervously at his chronometer. "We have 31 minutes remaining." Dr. Volkov barely heard him. Her attention was fixed on a 3-dimensional model rotating slowly on the screen. A double helix strand with peculiar markers highlighted at regular intervals. "Human DNA," she whispered. "But look at these sequences. They're not random mutations. They're engineered." The implications struck her like a physical blow. The intercepted communications had hinted at this truth, but seeing the evidence firsthand made it undeniable. Humans were not native to Earth as they had always believed. Their genetic code contained carefully designed sequences, markers, of deliberate engineering by an advanced civilization. The terminal chimed as it retrieved another file, a historical record dated nearly 50,000 years earlier. Dr. Volkov's hands trembled as she opened. "It project successor," she read aloud. "Subject species transplanted to Isolation World E3 for controlled development. Genetic modifications incorporated to enhance adaptive capacity and cognitive potential." Her companion leaned closer. "E3, Earth?" Dr. Volkov nodded slowly, continuing to read. "The predecessors believed that creating a species that combined high intelligence with exceptional adaptability would eventually produce beings capable of maintaining galactic balance after their departure." The predecessors? Who were they? According to this, Dr. Volkov scrolled through the file. They were the civilization that predated the Council, the ones who established the first interstellar network before apparently going extinct or leaving the galaxy entirely. She downloaded the last files as the security alarm began its silent countdown. 20 minutes remaining. "There's more," she said urgently. "The Council, at least its founding species, have known this truth for centuries. They've been actively suppressing human development, keeping us isolated and technologically stunted." "But why?" asked her companion. Dr. Volkov found the answer in the final set of files. "Because they're afraid of us. These genetic modifications, they make humans uniquely adaptable, able to survive in environments that would kill most species, able to learn and innovate at rates that frightened the Council founders." The alarm on her device flashed red. 15 minutes. "We need to go," her companion insisted. Dr. Volkov disconnected her device, erasing all traces of their access. As they made their way back through the archives, her mind raced with the implications of what she had discovered. Humanity wasn't just another species in the galaxy. They were designed to be something more. and the Council had been deliberately preventing them from fulfilling that potential. Halfway across the galaxy, Admiral Wei and Commander Donovan led a daring mission to infiltrate the Council's forbidden archive world of Mnemosyne, where physical records and artifacts were stored. Unlike the digital archives on Nexus Prime, Mnemosyne contained actual specimens, archaeological findings, and technological relics from throughout galactic history. Their target, the sealed vault rumored to contain artifacts from the predecessors themselves. The EDF Shadowblade hovered silently in orbit, its phantom drive rendering it invisible to Mnemosyne's automated defenses. On the surface, Wei and Donovan led a team of 12 operatives through the cavernous repository, following coordinates provided by intelligence sources. The Council maintains minimal staff here, Wei noted as they moved past endless rows of preservation chambers. Most of the security is automated. Donovan checked her scanner. Vault Omega-9 should be 2 levels down. According to the schematic, it has its own dedicated security system. Can we bypass it? We won't need to. Donovan held up a small device. This contains administrator-level access codes provided by our allies among the Belosians. They may be a minor species in the Council hierarchy, but they've been maintaining these archives for millennia. They descended through rarely used maintenance shafts, avoiding the main corridors where security drones patrolled. The lower levels felt older somehow, the architecture more organic than the sterile efficiency of the upper repositories. Vault Omega-9 loomed before them, a massive door of unknown material, etched with symbols unlike any known galactic language. Donovan applied her access device to the control panel beside it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like a distant bell, the massive door began to slide open, revealing a chamber bathed in soft blue light. Atmospheric containment field, Wei observed. The air in there hasn't been disturbed for thousands of years. They stepped through, their environmental suits automatically adjusting to the different conditions. Inside, displayed on crystalline pedestals, were objects of obvious technological origin, but completely alien design. Curved and flowing where Council technology favored angles and symmetry. Predecessor artifacts, Donovan whispered with reverence. The species that came before all others. At the center of the chamber stood what appeared to be a control console, still faintly glowing after millennia of dormancy. We approached it cautiously. This is what we came for, he said. The rumored interface that contains the predecessor's final records. Donovan connected a specialized analysis device to the ancient console, beginning data extraction. This could take. The console flared to life, projecting a holographic display unlike anything they had seen before. A three-dimensional representation of the galaxy, with certain systems highlighted in pulsing colors. It recognized our technology, Wei realized. It's responding to us specifically. The display shifted, zooming in on Earth's solar system, then displaying a genetic sequence that matched what Dr. Volkov had discovered in the central archives. Additional data streamed across the projection, information about the predecessor's grand experiment. They seeded multiple worlds, Donovan said as she interpreted the data. Earth wasn't the only one, but we were apparently their most promising creation, a species designed not just to survive, but to thrive under pressure, to innovate when challenged, to unify when threatened. Wei studied another section of the display, his expression darkening, and the Council has known this all along. Look at this. Records of deliberate interventions in Earth's development. Technological suppression, cultural manipulation, resource limitations, all designed to keep us contained. The final piece of data confirmed their worst suspicions. The Council's eldest species had been secretly harvesting genetic material from humans for centuries, attempting to incorporate human adaptability into their own declining genetic lines without success. They've been using us, Donovan said, disgust evident in her voice, treating us like a resource while preventing us from reaching our potential. Wei nodded grimly. And now that we've broken free of their constraints, they fear what we might become. The extraction device chimed, indicating it had completed its download. They had what they came for, proof of humanity's true origins and the Council's centuries of manipulation. As they prepared to leave, Wei noticed something else, a small crystalline object on a pedestal near the exit, labeled in the predecessor's language with a symbol that the translation software interpreted as key. Bring that, he ordered. If it was important enough for the predecessors to preserve, it's important enough for us to study. They departed as silently as they had arrived, leaving no trace of their presence in the ancient vault. But they carried with them knowledge that would forever change humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. On Earth, President Okafor convened an emergency session of the United Earth Government as the discoveries from both Missio. The judgment chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so crowded. Representatives from over 500 species packed the tiered seating, while thousands more watched via quantum-linked broadcasts across the galaxy. The emergency session had been called to address what many were now calling the human crisis, a fundamental challenge to the established order that had governed interstellar relations for millennia. Supreme Arbiter Valoros stood at the central podium, his skin shifting between anxious purple and authoritative gold as he struggled to maintain control of the increasingly fractious assembly. Behind him, a massive display showed real-time updates from across Council space. Dozens of systems where human ships had appeared, neutralizing military installations with surgical precision before vanishing again. Order, Valoros called as arguments erupted between the pro-war and diplomatic factions. The Council must present a unified response to this threat. What threat? Called a representative of the Nyx Collective, one of the newer Council members. The humans have targeted only military assets. No civilians have been harmed. They defy Council authority, countered the Kali delegation. They possess technology they have hidden from us for decades. They turn minor species against the established order. Before Valoros could respond, the chamber's security alerts activated. On every display, a single message appeared. Incoming transmission from Earth, Priority Alpha. Valoros hesitated, then nodded to the communications officer. Put it through. The massive central hologram flickered and Ambassador Marcus Reynolds appeared. But he was not alone. Beside him stood President Okafor and representatives from 27 formerly minor council species that had declared independence in the past week. Honored representatives of the Galactic Council, Marcus began, his voice calm but carrying an unmistakable note of authority. I speak to you today not just as Earth's ambassador, but as a representative of the newly formed Galactic Concordat, an alliance of free worlds united by mutual respect rather than hierarchical control. Outraged shouts erupted from the Council hardliners, but many representatives leaned forward, intrigued. For the past 3 weeks, forces from Earth and our allies have demonstrated our capacity to neutralize military threats throughout Council space. We have deliberately avoided civilian casualties and limited our actions to defensive measures. The display behind him changed to show footage from the coordinated strikes, human ships appearing without warning near, Council military installations deploying targeted electromagnetic pulses and gravity weapons that disabled rather than destroyed. We come to you now with evidence that will change your understanding of galactic history and humanity's place within it. The display shifted again, showing the genetic records recovered from the Central Archives and the predecessor artifacts from Mnemosyne. Dr. Volkov stepped forward to explain their significance. What you are seeing is proof that humans were created by the predecessors, the civilization that predated the Council, as potential successors to maintain balance in the galaxy. For centuries, the Council's founding species have known this truth and deliberately suppressed human development. Valoros's skin paled to a sickly white. The Council's oldest secret was being broadcast across the galaxy, Dr. Volkov continued, displaying evidence of genetic harvesting programs and systematic interference with Earth's development. The Council has treated humanity as a resource to be exploited, rather than a civilization with equal rights. This ends today. The chamber erupted in chaos as representatives demanded explanations from the Council leadership. Species that had suffered similar treatment recognized the patterns of suppression and exploitation. The fragile unity of the Council was crumbling in real time. Ambassador Reynolds raised his hand for attention. We do not seek the destruction of the Council. We propose its transformation. A new galactic order based on cooperation rather than domination, on mutual benefit rather than exploitation. As he outlined the Concordat's vision for a reformed interstellar community, Supreme Arbiter Valoros conferred urgently with the representatives of the Council's founding species. After heated debate, he approached the central podium again, The Council rejects these fabricated claims, he announced. Earth and its allies have violated the most sacred principles of galactic order. They will be brought to compliance by any means necessary. He activated a secure channel on his personal communicator. Implement the final solution. Target, Sol system. In orbit around a gas giant in a remote system, the Council's doomsday weapon, a massive station capable of generating artificial wormholes, powered up. Developed in secret and forbidden by the Council's own laws, the device could create a targeted singularity that would consume Earth's sun, destroying the entire solar system. But as the weapon reached full charge, proximity alarms blared. Appearing from seemingly empty space, an armada of ships surrounded the station. Not just human vessels, but ships from dozens of species, including the Athar. On the command deck of the EDF Retribution, Commander Okoro opened a channel to the station. This is Commander Darius Okoro of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your weapon violates Council law. Power down immediately or we will be forced to neutralize the threat. On the station, the commander, a veteran Volnari officer, faced an impossible choice. We cannot comply, he responded. The firing sequence has been locked in. Even if we wanted to, we cannot stop it now. Commander Okoro turned to his tactical officer. Options? We can't destroy it. The explosion would trigger the singularity. We need to contain it. From the back of the bridge, Taral of the Athar stepped forward. My people can help. Our vessels are equipped with temporal stasis technology. We can create a bubble around the station, containing the effect. That would trap your ships within the bubble, Okoro realized. A one-way trip. Taral's four eyes blinked in sequence, acceptance of fate. My people have always sought balance in the galaxy. We will not stand by while billions die. She turned to her own commander. Prepare the stasis generators. May our sacrifice bring the peace we have always sought. The Athar ships moved into position around the doomsday weapon, forming a perfect geometric pattern. As the weapon fired, creating a microscopic singularity aimed at Sol, the Athar activated their stasis field. Space itself froze around the station, trapping the singularity within a bubble of stopped time. A monument to both the Council's desperation and the Athar's sacrifice. In the Council chamber, alarms sounded as the weapon's activation was detected, followed by confusion, as the expected catastrophic reports from the Sol system never arrived. Instead, the central display showed a new transmission. The Athar ships surrounding the frozen weapon, their sacrifice broadcast for all to see. The chamber fell silent. The Council's illegal weapon and willingness to commit genocide were now exposed to every species in the galaxy. Any moral authority the old order might have claimed was irrevocably shattered. Ambassador Reynolds addressed the stunned assembly once more. The Athar have given their lives to prevent an atrocity. Their sacrifice will not be in vain. His voice hardened. Humanity extends one final offer. Join us in creating a new order based on mutual respect, or stand alone as the galaxy moves forward without you. One by one, representatives rose from their seats, formally withdrawing their species from Council authority and pledging to the new Concordat. Within an hour, over 300 species had defected, including several of the Council's founding members, shaken by the revelation of their leadership's willingness to destroy an entire solar system. Supreme Arbiter Valoros watched as the institution he had served for centuries collapsed around him. With no options remaining, he addressed Ambassador Reynolds directly. What are your terms? 3 days later, representatives from across the galaxy gathered on neutral ground, the formerly independent trading world of Nexus Junction. There, President Okafor and the leaders of the Concordat worlds met with the remaining Council species to negotiate the terms of galactic reunification. The result was the new Galactic Concordat, a fundamental reimagining of interstellar governance. Key principles included equal representation regardless of technological development, protection for developing species, free exchange of non-military technology, and absolute prohibitions against genocide and forced resource extraction. As the delegates signed the historic agreement, humanity revealed its greatest secret, the successful development of controlled wormhole technology. Unlike the Council's destructive weapon, Earth's version created stable passages through spacetime, revolutionizing interstellar travel and communication. This technology belonged to the predecessors, President Okafor explained to the assembled representatives. The activation key we discovered unlocked not just the hidden installations on Earth, but humanity's full potential. We offer it now as a foundation for our shared future. The predecessor sites on Earth had contained not weapons, but tools, technologies designed to connect rather than destroy, to elevate rather than suppress. The crystalline key had unlocked not just ancient machinery, but the full expression of humanity's engineered potential. In the months that followed, the galaxy transformed. The hierarchical structure that had dominated interstellar relations for 20,000 years gave way to a more balanced network of civilizations. Species that had been deliberate